you want to talk about trans issues, black specifically in a black trans lens?
Absolutely. Please tell me. And let me give you before you dive into it. I just want to give a little bit of a preference, or excuse me, preface.
Mhm.
So all of the black trans people that I know personally and am friends with, I would say that they have not that all of their experience has been translated through like American culture. Like they have all seemed to embrace like an individualistic type of thinking that kind of hasn't brought them into community with other trans people. And so it's very interesting to me to hear your perspective now because it seems like you are more in community with the trans community. And so I would like to hear like the perspective of like not only your personal perspective, from like early years on, um, but like what is it to you to be in community with other trans people and like is that well, I guess we'll start there. I'll just leave it at that for now.
I'm gonna say this. The trans community is segregated. It's segregated like Jim Crow. Okay, I'm gonna say that right now. A lot of white trans girls hang out with white trans folks only. It's very even in my own college town, it's very cliquey. Very a lot of white queers that are cliquey as hell. It don't matter what my resume was, all the things I've done, they can know of me or whatnot. The second they see me at a party or bar, honey, they act like I don't exist. They act like, oh, I am an Instagram. I call them Instagram cool bitches because they post a
I
little
know
quirky
exactly what you're
photo.
talking about. I mean, like,
Oh, yeah.
it's no different in the gay community. I always tell people, I'm on
uh,
record. I think I'm on YouTube somewhere saying that like the gay community is the most racist community I've ever encountered.
no, definitely. So, a lot of these people assume, I would say this, like just a lot of, I've came across like the more online I've gone and it's not, because I've seen it in person too, but more I've been online, I've noticed like, damn, a lot of trans people that are white really think because they're trans, they can't perpetuate racism, xenophobia, etc. So, I would
When
say like I'm in
meanwhile
a
in the black
community.
community, we're like other black people are perpetuating white supremacy all the time. We all know it and talk about it.
No, 100%. So I would say like I'm in with the intersectional left trans community. So like Jesse Gender, Airnock, as a few creators that I know. There's I know more true white trans folks than that, but that's what's coming on the tip of my head. But there's a handful of like white trans folks. I know there's the F the algorithm group of people. I forgot. Oh my god, I'm forgetting a lot. Leftist cooks. They're amazing. I know so many more. There's more trans people than I know, but that are not black. But yeah, there's a lot of really outspoken folks that I feel as soon as my way when my approach is like if you are calling out racism, that's how you're gonna make me feel comfortable to be around you or to be in community with you. If I see you just talk about trans issues through like because I speak out about this in my protests and even in my videos, but a lot of them have an all lives matter approach to trans issues, to gay issues, to queer issues, etc. Like they don't talk about the nuances. They don't acknowledge the murder rate for Black trans women. That were 3/4 of the trans murder rate. Um, I remember even recently and I get a lot of Twitter comments. I get a lot of like this bigots coming out my way. Or I get a lot of this fragile. I call them the queer clan rally. It's what I call them. But they'll be coming in and I'll talk about I'll clap back with like, hey, like you talking too crazy at me, and I'm a black trans woman talking about black trans murders. Like, what do you mean? Like, and they'll be like, most trans people are dead. It's suicide. I'm like, I'm not talking about suicide, which are also black trans people are committing suicide as well. But I'm talking about murder. We're 3/4, and that's something you're gonna pivot with suicide on. Like this is some real things. Like if you can't say you're for the trans community and this and that, but then never like how are you gonna like? I'm working on a video on this right now, but it's like how are you gonna work to use the murder rate of trans people to go get these grants at these organizations to go push your agenda, but never talk about the racial aspect of those numbers. You completely ignore Black trans women as our whole plight, and not so like no. So there's a lot of that, and I feel that needs to be called out much more. And it's I've barely seen it just like being acknowledged on a degree, and not it needs to be on a larger degree, but just even any acknowledgement, it's barely being like it's the conversation that's being talked about more bit by bit. I can see. I remember Gabrielle Union mentioned that at GLAAD. That was the first time anyone at GLAAD ever talked about that.
I
They're
think that's
never
the
gonna
most
have
prominent example I can think of, actually.
no, exactly, because I can't think of any other time. Like GLAAD has been, I think in particular, has probably excluded Black trans folks. Like it was very much like a white queer pat yourselves on the back type of like fiasco. I don't call fiasco, but like that's what I call it. Like, so they would use the murder rate of Black trans of that includes Black trans, but of trans folks, not talk about the racial aspect, and go about their day, get them grants or whatnot. So
I
to
mean, it
me, it's
reminds
very
me.
unethical.